Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Mexi here, and I'm back for once again for the likes of the Mexi Toys videos once again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Donkey Kong 64 for the Nintendo 64. So, last time we've essentially did manage able to get started with Jungle Japes, and managed able to gather some more collectibles. In addition to those, we also managed to rescue Diddy Kong. So today for this video is the fact that we're going to be continuing exploring for jungle hijinks, at least for a little while, because obviously we can't able to actually access to other areas just yet, until whenever we get the rest of the remaining playable characters. So in some cases though, yeah, we're about to get this thing to it, so in some cases though, let me just go ahead and grab some more watermelon slices, which we've already have, and we'll shoot the actual peanut right onto that particular switch as we go, so just in case we were able to proceed until for later. Again, if only about the fact the matter is though, we will be able to actually get one of those playable characters in the future. So in some cases though, let's not worry about that right now. So in some cases though, let's just go ahead and go back through here, just to ensure about the fact that there might be some missing parts here and there. Like for instance, about the fact that, remember that particular cave section as we've already went to earlier? Well, since that we've now actually got Diddy Kong, so this means we can now able to actually open up this particular gate. So in some cases, not only do we get ourselves the forms of some more red banana coins, but also another golden banana. So in some cases though, yeah, there's going to be a lot more than that. So now, in terms of the forms of those golden bananas, the amount of golden bananas they've got, well, I can assure you, it's more actually like, I don't know about you, but either way though, I think I've already explained about that ever since in the last video or so. So anyways, let's obtain that. So now we have actually got 4 golden bananas each within both Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong. So yeah, everything else goes all fine and dandy. So before we continue proceeding for this, then we go ahead and pop this particular banana balloon. So just in case, we'll get 10 additional bananas for Diddy Kong. And I think we've only got about 5 left for Diddy Kong. And as far as I'm aware, because obviously about the fact that I think, relatively speaking though, I'm actually going to be also decided able to go through every single banana hunting throughout the majority of this playthrough. Just like in the forms of how it does on these musical notes, for the likes of the forms of not only Banjo-Kazooie, but also Banjo-Tooie as well. And thankfully, just like in the forms of how it does it in Banjo-Tooie, that basically though, certain bananas you've collected has been saved, whilst unlike in the Banjo-Kazooie on the N64 version most likely, that basically though is the fact that you have to keep on recollecting them due to the forms of the archaic high score system. So anyway, so I think we've only got one more batch of bananas left for Donkey Kong, and oh jeez, I totally forgot about the fall damage right there. Yeah, so between both Ape Escape and this game, Donkey Kong 64, sometimes though, I always have to cope with the forms of fall damage. So, because, you know, falling from highest height is painful, which is true, because obviously about the fact that, especially noticeable, if you're able to actually stumble across taller buildings, you probably know what I mean. So anyways, let's go from vine to vine. And from here, this is where we get ourselves the actual jingle for not only collecting 100 bananas, well, at least in one of the Kongs anyway, but also we meet up with the forms of Trough and Scuff. So basically though, this is where you're able to actually access to boss fights. And basically, as you can see on that particular numbered door right there, that actually means is the fact that, well, you remember with all these bananas we keep on collecting throughout the whole world so far? That is when this particular banana pad comes into play. And basically though, since I've actually got 100 of those yellow bananas as Donkey Kong, so this means I can able to actually spend it on this particular part. So basically, all we have to really do is the fact that since that particular that pig guy right there just somehow feels a bit overweight, well, we do need to feed for about 60 of those bananas for that particular Scuff right there. So just to ensure that that way he'll become much more bigger and taller, and that way we can able to let him just actually access to the key lock, which actually opens up the first boss in the game. And speaking of the first boss, Yeah, for that jingle right there, that sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? Well, it's actually pretty similar to the forms of how it does it in Banjo-Kazooie whenever you stumble across the stop and swap item, because that's actually pretty cool where they managed able to reuse that particular jingle right there. So anyways, it looks like Donkey Kong is the only one you can able to actually access the first boss in the game, because every time before you get into the boss fight itself, basically it just does like a roulette thing. You're not able to actually access to any of those kind of stuff. So here we go, the first boss in the game, and this guy is known as Armadillo. So basically though, get it, because he does have all kinds of like cannons. Oh god, he's got a bit of a big cannon right there. So basically though, and also he's an armadillo basically. So yeah, all we have to do in this boss fight is pretty simple. It's the fact that, as you can tell, we got ourselves a TNT barrel, and basically it's up to you to able to toss it right back at him. And I think you have to deal with him for about 3 hits, and I think that's about it basically. So in some cases though, yeah, he's pretty easy for the most part. Although, until whenever we get to later on though, that certain boss fights might actually get a bit tough every nowadays. Although, relatively speaking though, is the fact that, well, there was that one boss that I think I somewhat got struggled with back in the day. But relatively speaking, that's only mainly because of the faults of, you know, back in the day about the fact I always have a bit of struggle times. But either way though, as far as when I've grown older, that basically I know exactly how these boss fights work. So, anywho though, and after we defeat the boss fight though, you get yourselves the most important item in the game, and thus it's mandatory if you want to finish the game. Because remember that particular character that is being trapped inside the cage thanks to the forms of King K. Rool? Basically though is the fact that, well, as soon as we deal with him for the third and final hit, as we've already attempted to, so he gets electrified after doing so. And there goes all of his cannons, and exponentially, he's probably gonna get away. So, but we're not done with him just yet though, because that'll be for later on though, so. And from here we get ourselves the DK key, which, you know, it kind of reminds me of the forms of the Super Mario 64 keys, where basically though, that allows us to able to progress, so. There we go. So that way we can now able to actually just to put one of the first keys onto that particular cage. So in some cases though, after we need to defeat the boss fight, as you can tell, the portals disappeared. So in some cases though, it's the fact that meaning that you can't able to actually have a rematch against with the boss fight until in one of those special modes you can able to fiddle around with exponentially. So, and I think for the most part, I think we're basically done with the forms of jungle what do I say jungle hijinks? I keep thinking about Donkey Kong Country 1 for some reason, but ultimately speaking though, we've pretty much done with jungle japes for now on. But either way though, we will be back for more of the forms of that particular revisit of jungle japes, until whenever we again actually access to every single characters in the game. So, because you know, so far we've only got 2 characters so far, so yeah, that might be some consumption. So anyway, so in addition to that, we also got 100 bananas for Diddy Kong for jungle japes. So in some cases though, we've got all the red bananas in that world. So, because yeah, believe me, it's going to be a marathon of collectathon, because as a result, well, I can assure you it's quite maddening, you know. So anyways though, let's go ahead and switch over back to Donkey Kong, just to ensure about the fact that we can able to see him more on action. So in some cases though, now we can able to actually just to like, you can either just somehow use to like swim, or just use one of those numbered pads, so just to ensure that you would able to teleport from different spots to make things a bit easier, to able to actually make the backtracking not so much of an issue. So anyways though, so now we've actually got back inside in here, and we're able to insert the first key. So in some cases though, 1 padlock is down, and I think we've only got about 7 more to go. So yeah, it's gonna be insane for the most part, especially considering about the fact that, well, yeah, it's gonna be roughly the exact same length as in the forms of Banjo-Tooie sometimes, just because there's some tons of collectibles you can collect. So anyway, so now he does the actual the dance thing, and basically that opens up the next world. So in some cases though, I think I get the strong sense of feeling that the next world we're going to be hitting to right now not only do we need to able to get one character, but I get the feeling we might come across into 2 characters, so hopefully that might actually feel like a double the price, I suppose. But before we continue things on here, first of all, let me just go ahead and get used to with the actual swimming mechanics in the game, and relatively speaking, thankfully we don't need to worry about the forms of limited air, whilst unlike in Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, when they did manage able to brought back the actual, you know, the underwater levels, but for some reason in the forms of Tropical Freeze, they did somehow, for whatever reason, bring the oxygen meter, which I honestly have no idea why they managed able to decide to go for that decision, but oh well, no big deal. So anyways, the reason why we came from that particular island, as you saw, is most likely because just trying to able to activate the number 5 banana port. So just to make things a little bit more of an easier task to do for, like, you know, not to do any like walking around with a long length of any destinations or anything else like that. But I can assure you that we've almost activated every single like banana pad or banana pod throughout the whole entire game so far. So, anywho though. So anyways, let's climb for this little plum tree right here. And yeah, you see those little grey, that dirt stuff? That'll be for later. Because obviously we didn't need able to actually get one of those. Ah, I just clipped through it! No, I suppose it doesn't matter, because obviously that the actual traveling portion isn't too far from here. But either way. So yeah, a few things I want to explain for this particular discussion for this point, folks, is the fact that, well, today's date is of course the 6th of January today, in this case in 2023 today. A few things I want to explain while this is happening. Do you guys even remember there was a game called Toy Soldiers that basically does the fact that Toy Soldiers HD was expected able to be coming, but it turns out it already came out just recently, which as a result, it did release in the exact New Year's Eve since during the forms of last year, which is a quite surprising result, especially considering that much like Sports Story, that basically does the fact that they always love to able to actually just to surprise you sometimes. But anyways though, so here we go, on to the next world, and in order to able to actually access this next world, I believe we get the strong feeling we do need about 5 golden bananas. So in some cases though, let's see what really happens as soon as we talk to this guy. So yeah, 5 golden bananas in order to able to actually access this next world, so. And from here, this is where we get to go on to the next world in the game, which I get the feeling it might be something related to the desert environment world, so that might be saying something. That meddlesome monkey should be burned to a crisp by now. Where's that armadillo? I'm sorry, Master. He was too quick for me. But I'll get him next time. In Barnacle, I don't like failure. Do you know what happens to failures? Go. I've waited too long for this. I won't let these flea-biting monkeys ruin my plans this time. Oh yeah, there's one thing I forgot to mention about ever since the last few videos ago. That basically does the fact that every time before you get into the next world, in some cases, for instance, the second world we're going to be heading into right now is Angry Aztec. So in some cases though, it's basically a desert themed world, as to be expected, filled to the brim with a lot of quicksand, and as well as from that though, a lot of pyramids and ancient stuff, as far as I'm aware. So, yeah, every once in a while, before you're able to dive right into the next world, sometimes you're able to stumble across some more cutscenes whenever when King K. Rool is up to something. So in some cases though, yeah, you probably get the idea about how this is going. So anyways, let's go ahead and activate those coconut switches by simply using the coconut shooter, which I somewhat felt had a bit of a mistake from the last video, because for some reason I keep calling it bazooka for some reason, but it turns out it was actually coconut shooter, which I didn't pay attention to the actual name of the weapon as much, but either way though, oh yeah, this area right there, that'll be important for later. just to ensure about the fact that not only do we get ourselves some more banana coins, but also save lives with the forms of that, you know, I get the feeling they might actually contain a blueprint around here somewhere, so... Anywho though, so, yeah, and also another thing I want to mention in regards to the forms of today's discussion, that is the fact that, well, good news for those of you are the Mario Kart Wii fans out there, ever since about 15 years ago almost, is the fact that Rainbow Road from Mario Kart Wii is going to be returning on Mario Kart Tour though. So because of that though, I wasn't too surprised about that. But hey, at least on the upside is though, we might able to actually come across into that as in the final track in terms of DLC waves for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at some point soon. Actually, I'll get into more details on that in a second, because here we meet Candy Kong, ever since in Donkey Kong Country and stuff like that. And she was actually the part of the Forms of the Music shop. And just like the forms of how it does it in the forms of not only Funky's store, alongside with the forms of Cranky's lab, you also need to utilize the banana coins, and this time you can able to actually buy one of your instruments. Like for instance, about the fact that Candy Kong is gonna tell us that we do need to pay her for about 3 banana coins, and if we do so, we get ourselves Bongo Blast. And that will actually cause a bit of a shockwave thing as far as I'm aware. So in some cases though, that deals with tons of enemies throughout. So pretty cool, huh? So anyway, and yeah, and as you can tell about the fact that in order able to actually activate the instruments, you have to simply just use the Z button as well as pressing the C button up. So just to ensure that you would be able to actually use the instruments that way. Only if the fact that you can be able to actually use it somewhat situational kind of method, or you can just simply just try to use it for the sake of the forms if you ever saw one of those pads. So yeah, that's pretty much about that. So not only do we get ourselves the first instrument so far, but we might get another one thanks to Diddy Kong right here. So double the price, I suppose. So let's go and pay 3 banana coins for Diddy Kong, Guitar, Shazam. How awesome is that? But I digress. Oh, and by the way, about the fact no matter which though, is the fact you do have a bit of an ammo count as well, for the sake of the forms of the limited counts for using those instruments, because I can assure you, if you use one of them, one of the counters goes down. And in order to restore them back, well, there's this new object we will come across into later, but not now though, because obviously we still need to focusing on, you know, a lot of exploration around here. In addition to that though, yeah, I thought so, it's just Donkey Kong's yellow bananas, which I'll definitely gonna have to obtain them at some point. But anywho, so yeah, I was quite pleased about the fact that Mario Kart Wii Rainbow Road is going to be returning, but so far it's going to be on Mario Kart Tour at the moment. But I can assure you, it's going to be one of those hints for the sake of the forms of, let's just say, the final wave for Booster Course Pass for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which I'm hoping that might be the case, because I was really looking forward to able to see Mario Kart Wii Rainbow Road returning on Mario Kart Tour, despite the fact that we now need to race with lesser amounts of racers, within like 8 racers instead of the usual 12. So relatively speaking, in Mario Kart Tour so far at this point, that we might able to actually stumble across not 1, but 3 different Rainbow Roads in Mario Kart Tour. Whilst until whenever we get one, for the sake of the forms of in you know what I mean, with the Mario Kart Wii version of Rainbow Road, that hopefully though, when the final wave is going to be in existence until by the end of this year in 2023, then we can able to actually get about roughly 5 Rainbow Roads in one Mario Kart game. Well, not counting the forms of the arcade games, because they all basically just have like 2 Rainbow Road tracks, which well, I know technically from the right off the bat though, they do manage to have like 4 rounds, but the other 2 are just basically just a repeat of the exact same track, but with different stimulations. So either way though, I personally don't count that. So, but that's just me. But yeah, And I have no idea what the actual tour is also going to be featuring for the next tour until specifically next Wednesday. But I think I'll explain more about it until whenever we get to the forms of the next couple of videos ahead. Especially considering about the fact that, well, relatively speaking, let's talk about the forms of another thing I would like to mention is the fact that, well, first of all, before we get into more details onto this though, as you can tell, we've actually activated the door, so in some cases, let's get into this particular temple as we go. And from here, we meet up with the forms of our next playable character, which is known as Tiny Kong. Her first appearance is in this game. Although I do know for sure right off the bat though, is the fact that she actually managed able to get brought back from not only she was able to be returned from the likes of not only in Diddy Kong Racing DS, a remake of the original game on the DS, and on top of that, Donkey Kong Barrel Blast or Jet Race. In some cases though, people found this to be one of the worst Donkey Kong games ever because of all that wacko fest you have to put up with. And on top of that, she'll make a return in Mario Super Sluggers for the Mario Baseball game on the Wii. So, but even then though, and after that though, she hasn't been brought back since, which I'm not exactly sure what's going to be happening to her in the future. But anyway though, let's just go ahead and activate that switch as we've already did. And best to ensure that you always have to use the backflip jumps, so just in case you can able to reach higher platforms like these. But yeah, for the most part though, oh yeah, there's something I would like to mention is the fact that until this particular month, at least specifically in Japan though, that Diadol Smash Bros. X or specifically Super Smash Bros. Brawl, is going to be eventually going to become 15 years old in journey forms of not only for this year, but also for this entire month as well, at least specifically in Japan. Whilst I do still remember back in the day that I was be waiting for the English version to be released, well, not only for the North American release, but also the UK version as well. Although I do definitely know right off the bat though, is the fact that I do remember that the Japanese version came out first in January, but then later on in March in North America, but then it wasn't until about 3 months later that we have to wait for the UK version until the 27th of June in 2008. Like, after a countless amount of delays back in the day, whatever when the game was first announced back in E3 2006, and I do remember for that long-waited pain for able to actually so desperately want to play that game so badly, which I do remember back in the day. But thankfully though, in the later games, specifically Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS and Wii U, doesn't get that much delays, and especially noticeable with Smash Bros. Ultimate, which, either way though, that's not much of a pain for, you know, trying to wait for certain stuff, so... Anyway, so let's go and swim through here, and this is where we meet up with Tiny Kong, as we've already come across into from earlier. But you know how the fact that, well, as you can tell, that also in addition to that, there's another golden banana right there. So, before we tackle for this particular next challenge, we need to able to solve this out. Let me go ahead and take care of the faults of not only those Kremlings, but also clam traps as well. Although what's even strange is that the creme traps in this game act out a lot differently in this game, which is hard to explain, because I know for a fact that it's been about 2 days ago since I've actually last recorded this, basically. So, either way though, as you can see, we actually stumbled across the actual letters representing Kong. So, this sounds familiar, doesn't it? Well, first of all, let me go ahead and use the Trumpy Charge right onto that particular switch. And from here, this is where we do need to able to activate those specific switches that spelled out Kong. So, if you ever played Donkey Kong Country games before, including Donkey Kong Land games as well, you know exactly how this sounds. Basically, you always have to start with K first, O, N, and G at the end. So, if you ever played Donkey Kong Country before, if you manage to collect those Kong letters. So, self-explanatory and easy and simple and done. So... Oh yeah, and also something's worth mentioning though, speaking of Mario Super Sluggers actually, that game is also going to be 15 years old until specifically also in June this year, well, to be more specifically in Japan, and then in North America until in August, so, yeah, time flies, doesn't it? So anyways, now we've actually freed Tiny Kong, and basically though, she can also manage able to collect the exact same collectibles as you do, except her color was now purple. So this means, yes, my god, it's gonna be a ton of collectibles we need to get. I mean, so far so good. We actually got up to 10 golden bananas so far. Mind you, it's a bit of a slow process, but eventually though, if we're able to actually, like, you know what I mean, access to the forms of every single characters in the game, then sure enough, we are able to actually do some more stuff here and there. So, it might take a bit of some time to able to actually get this process going, so... But, I digress. So, yeah, as a result though, is the fact that, well... Honestly guys, that's all I can really say about it. Although apart from the fact that for one thing in mind, that until specifically by the end of this particular month in January, did you know about the fact that I can't even believe it's been about the entire decade ago for not only for the sake of the forms of, well let's just say in terms of the forms of Pokemon X and Y has been first announced from the likes of the Nintendo 3DS whenever they did first announce it, but also with the forms of some other you know, Nintendo Direct presentations based on for the Nintendo Wii U, despite the fact that the Wii U has been a massive flop recently. So because of this though, yeah, because I do remember about that time, well, actually I'll get some more details about that until whenever we, continue for this game. But I do remember about the fact that when everyone did saw, Pokemon X and Y, on the actual announcement trailer, back in about 10 years ago, after the release of Black and White version 2 for the Nintendo DS, everyone got very hyped for it, especially for Pokemon fans out there, because that was actually the first time ever in a handheld Pokemon game that every single graphics throughout the game was actually full 3D, no longer sprites. So that seems kind of legitimate, but despite the fact that they do have the forms of the actual I don't know about you, despite the fact that I haven't exactly looked upon that much gameplay footage of X and Y for the 3DS, but either way though, as far as saying goes, that's about it. Oh yeah, let me know in the comments down below for the question of the day, in terms of the forms of, let's just say, Mario Kart Wii Rainbow Road related. Are you guys really looking forward to able to going back into that particular track? Thanks to Mario Kart Tour until specifically next Wednesday, because I'm sure they will do, but despite the fact that we have to be able to still keep on playing Mario Kart Tour again, whilst we're still waiting for the forms of some more DLC waves for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which, yeah, I'm still hoping about the fact that that track will definitely be coming in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe as part of the final pack for the likes of the forms of the DLC and stuff. Anyway, so this is where we stumbled across the first new ability. Well, it's only exclusive for Tiny Kong, which appears to be Mini Monkey. And basically though is the fact that if you ever stumble across a special barrel that contains the actual face icon with Tiny Kong, and basically you can actually turn it into a small variation of yourself. That way you can able to actually fit through tiny holes, and even especially noticeable, just actually access to special areas. So, and of course that since we also need to collect purple banana coins as Tiny Kong as well. So yeah, there's gonna be a ton of collectibles in this game like I said before, which believe me, this might take a very long time to able to collect them. So anyways, let's get ourselves our next ability for Diddy Kong, and this time is Rocket Barrel Boost. So I think for the majority of the forms of certain abilities we might get, for at the moment for not only for Tiny Kong, but also Diddy Kong and eventually Donkey Kong as well, you know with these particular objects that we might able to come across into later, called these crystal coconuts, where basically, if you ever stumble across these special themed barrels specifically for certain characters, basically though, you will able to actually use the crystal coconuts to able to actually activate certain abilities. So here's the forms of Strong Kong for Donkey Kong right here, which I think what that does is that allows you to able to become invincible for a few seconds, although it actually costs your crystal coconuts, which by the way, the crystal coconut was also in that atrocious, you know what the forms of that atrocious cartoon TV series called Donkey Kong Country? Yeah, that show is really weird, especially looking back on it right now. it is entirely outdated. Although it surprisingly did very well in Canada for some reason, from what I've heard anyway. But relatively speaking, it's just how weird the animations looked. And on top of that, it has not one, but 2 songs in every single episode. Like, it's so strange, doesn't it? Although, in the second season, the visuals got a lot worse than the forms of how it does it in the forms of in the first season, as far as I usually saw that coming. But either way, though, because relatively speaking, this is one of those early 90s CGI cartoons and stuff like that. So, that might be some consumption, so... But anyway, though, so let's just go ahead and take control of Tiny Kong again. So, just to ensure for not only collecting purple bananas, but also purple banana coins as well. And hopefully, we're able to actually just able to explore some more stuff around here. So, oh yeah, as soon as we're able to actually access the forms of every single characters in the game, that we will definitely going to be going back into... Did I just walk past that banana right there? That's just very wonky hit detection. So anyways though, let's just go ahead and activate the next 2 banana pods right here. So yeah, you see these little objects right there? These are the coconut crystals, or crystal coconuts. So in some cases though, I think the amount of minimum we can only hold up to right now is 20, I can assure you for this point. Well, mind you about the fact that I didn't pay attention to the actual UI and stuff like that. So anyway, so let's go ahead and keep on exploring. And yeah, we'll just grab some more bananas around in this path. But, yeah, as far as saying goes, I think that's as far as I can talk about for the sake of the forms of this particular discussion as far as today is concerned. But, anyway, kind of thinking about it, because I was expecting to able to see something a bit more, information about it. But, first of all, let me go and meet up with Donkey Kong again, and hopefully we'll get the weapon for Tiny Kong. In some cases, we got ourselves the feather bow. So... pretty nifty as far as, you know, weapons are concerned. So, and I think we've only got about 2 more playable characters left until we've actually complete the entire Kong playable character set. Well, mind you about the fact that not only that we actually rescue one of them in this world in Angry Aztec, but also we might able to come across into another playable character at some point if we somehow manage to try to find him. So yeah, let's just go and switch back into Donkey Kong here. And we can able to actually go ahead and yeah, let's just do the forms of one of those. Actually, is that the correct path? I don't know, I don't think so. But either way though, oh jeez, yeah, the quicksand will hurt you, so in some cases though, yeah, we definitely need to avoid at all times. So, assuming if you're able to actually just to like equip one of your special abilities with those barrels and stuff. But anyways, let's get in here and able to do another barrel blasting segment. Because I can assure you, this will be mandatory if you really want to progress. Especially considering about the fact that, well, I can assure you, this barrel blasting segment on this particular part is actually self-explanatory. Because I'm pretty sure in order able to proceed, well, as you can see, there is actually a bit of a, the strange object as we, to somehow manage to able to see right now, that if you go past for these little star dash thingy right there, that will activate something that is very important. So for instance, we've actually freed the llama, so in some cases though we can able to not only do some more stuff here and there, but also the golden banana shows up. But we'll be back for that hopefully, so in some cases though, now we can able to actually go for that particular temple right there, which actually shows us the lumber door right there. So yeah, it's actually super dope and everything. But before we get inside though, let me go ahead and find another banana balloon right here for Donkey Kong. So sometimes you need to be so accurate with all that, you know, gunshots in this game, because otherwise if you keep on doing rapid fires, basically the more ammo you've wasted. So yeah, just keep that in mind. So and also, we actually stumbled across the actual blue headphones object, which actually functions like a an instrument refill station. So in some cases though, if you run out of your instrument's usage, basically, if you're able to stumble across the forms of that particular blue headphones object, that way it actually restores your limited count for your instruments. So that might be pretty worthwhile for able to mentioning about that. So anyway, so now we've actually opened up this particular temple right here. So now we can able to go inside as we go. And something tells me there's another playable character. In some cases, we meet up with Lanky Kong. I don't think we can probably rescue him in this video, but definitely in the next video, so don't worry. So we will get to you at some point. So anyways though, so yeah, it's pretty cool. In this world in particular, that you can able to actually rescue not one, but two playable characters, which the first one being Tiny Kong, and then we'll eventually rescue Lanky Kong if we do some other tasks first. So, oh, seriously? I hate how the fact that the knockback is still existed on this. So, but anyways, let's use the actual bongo blast on this pad. And from here, we'll let the llama just somehow manage to able to go ahead and sort something out. Like llama spitting in heated water. Huh. I don't know. I honestly have no idea I usually explain about this. I mean, but at least on the upside is though, is the fact that you can able to destroy enemies with the actual shockwave as well. So yeah, that's actually super handy and everything. So anyways, let's see what's in this switch then. Well, assuming if I was trying to ground pound it though first. So I wonder what this can activate. Oh, it's in that particular hidden caves that we can able to actually entering into. Well, at least assuming if you ever decide able to become Strong Kong, so we will definitely come across into that eventually. So it just takes a bit of some time. And for some reason, I keep on doing long jumps for some reason, which I honestly have no idea how on earth do I able to actually keep pulling this out. So anyways though, yeah, let me go ahead and quickly do some more things before I able to stop right there, because I need to grab not only those 3 bananas from the likes of the staircase as Donkey Kong, but also I get the strong feeling about the fact that we might able to actually just to see what's beyond here. And what's up with the sparkle effects? Oh yeah, that'll be important until for later, because obviously we don't think we've actually got anything useful at the moment until whenever we proceed to well, assuming about the fact that we do need that specific Kong in order able to actually just to actually access to one of those cool items in the game. So anyways, so let's go ahead and get some more watermelon health, because for some reason I just keep on getting hit most of the time in this world. So I mean, for the most part, this world every nowadays is going to get much larger to explore, but relatively speaking though, because, you know, trying to travel through certain worlds in the game might be super expensive. So anyways though, suffice to say, I think we should probably end things off at this point right here, I'm afraid guys, because I was expecting to able to save Lanky Kong, but as I said, we'll save that for the next video. So join me next time for more of Let's Play of Donkey Kong 64. It's the fact that not only we can able to do some more stuff in Angry Aztec, but also rescue Lanky Kong. So I'll see you guys until next Monday. Later fellas.